My wife might yell at me if I took you on a tour. It's probably not as clean as she'd want it to be because I've been living out of this place over the last week.
Welcome to another edition of Hockey Central at Home. I'm Carolyn Cameron, and we're joined by the new GM of the Buffalo Sabres in Kevyn Adams, who I can only assume is very busy. Just over a week into the job, Kevin, how is it so far? Have you hit the ground running?
I have, yeah. It's been quite a busy week and a half here, but I appreciate you having me on, Caroline. And yeah, I'm home and kind of like the rest of the world right now, just making it work.
I know it's been, as we said, not very long since you took on the new role, but have you been able to sit back and reflect a little bit if you think of a kid from growing up in the suburbs of Buffalo to now being the GM of the Sabres?
Not a lot. It has a couple times, especially early on, when I just kind of took a step back and, I've said this before, it's a dream come true. I mean, honestly, growing up in Western New York and going to the old Memorial Auditorium with my dad, sitting up in the orange section. And, that's really where I fell in love with the game. And, this journey that I've been on, I'm 45. I started playing hockey at 5 years old. So this 40-year journey I've been on and has been so amazing. And I'm so appreciative of all the opportunities over the years and to be now in this role. And, I'm excited. It's a lot of work. I'm looking forward to it all and learning and growing and doing it with my hometown franchise. It's amazing.
And you've known the owners of the Sabres, Terry and Kim Pegulas, for a long time. You've had many roles with the Sabres, including assistant coach and the VP of business operations most recently. What is your relationship like with the Pegulas?
Yeah, I had been hired under Darcy Regier and Lindy Ruff not long after I finished my playing career, and that was before the Pegulas bought the team. I believe it was the next season in. Terry and Kim came in, they bought the team. And as you mentioned, I've had a lot of different roles in the organization and in some other areas of different entities that they own over these last 9 years. And to some extent, it's been kind of a 9-year interview. I've built a relationship with them of, honesty and transparency and just trying to learn and grow. And so I think to some extent from their point of view, they had really known me and seen me work in many different roles. And so I'm a first-time GM, but they've also had a 9-year relationship with me. So I'm sure in some, ways it's different than hiring a new GM to come into an organization.
Well, Terry, last week during the introductory press conference, he said, we have a vision and we want to see that vision succeed. What is that vision in your words?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask, and it's hard to sum up in a short, 30 seconds or so. But I'll tell you this: I really truly believe it's about people. We want to be progressive. We want to be efficient with how we do things. We want to think differently in terms of our scouting and our player development and the analytics side of things, and really just from my standpoint, if you communicate and you surround yourself with great people and you can do things efficiently, now you can do something special. But honestly, it's similar to being a player. It comes back to people. And I do know how important it is to surround myself with great people that are honest, people that are going to push me and challenge me. And I'm a big believer. You get in a room and you debate and you have, hard conversations and you ultimately do it for the right reasons to get to the right answer. And that's what we're going to do.
Well, in terms of people, there are few as interesting, in my opinion, in hockey as Ralph Krueger. Just when you look at his background and his involvement in the World Economic Forum, with Southampton, the soccer club. What's your relationship like with him, and where does he fit in this vision?
Yeah, Ralph, you nailed it. He is an incredibly interesting man. He's done so many different things in the world in his life. I got to know Ralph over the course of this year in my business role, and the majority of the conversations that we would have would be focused around his experience in Southampton and stuff that he had done. And in my role, I would be crazy not to lean on a guy like Ralph Krueger and everything he had been through. And so, I asked him a lot of questions and things that he had done and process and maybe what he saw be effective in that Southampton role. I've learned a lot from him on the business side, and he and I are going to be working together closely. We've been spending a lot of time together this past week, just in Zoom calls and working through different discussions. But he is a phenomenal person, first and foremost. He's a great, resource. He's well respected in the hockey world, and I'm excited to work with him and learn from him.
Well, as we look ahead to whenever this season resumes, the Sabres, for you, you're looking ahead to whenever next season begins. At least on Friday, you'll have a little sense of where you stand because it's the NHL Draft Lottery. Is there a bit of excitement just knowing once Friday comes and you know where you're going to pick in this upcoming year's draft, you'll be able to maybe sort some things out and work on the plan?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's been such a blur the last week and a half that I haven't thought a ton about it. And all of a sudden, here we are. It's almost Friday. I'm excited about it, but at the same point, it's interesting because, it just is what it is, right? The lottery is going to go how it's going to go. So it's not a lot of preparation, but I do think what you said is right. It will help us. Okay, here's where we're at. Here's how we're moving forward. We're obviously still going to learn about the dates and when these types of things, the draft and all this stuff's going to happen. But at least we know, okay, this is where we are at 8 o'clock on Friday night. We find out, and then hopefully we get some, let's just call it a good bounce, and it goes our way, and we'll see where we're at.
It's a strange time for anyone to start a new job right now during a worldwide pandemic, regardless of the industry you're in. And as you said, for you being a first-time GM, what is your priority right now in your role?
Yeah, internally first. And what I mean by that is, okay, let's talk about our staff. Let's talk about who's in, part of this team on and off the ice. So the internal discussions are critical. Certainly the conversations with the coaching staff on our current roster, where do they see certain players? Where do they have, think there's needs? So having those discussions to me right now is the priority. There's so much to do, but at the same point, don't want to rush into anything. So want to be very measured in how we take our approach here. We want to do things the right way with the right process. So internal, prioritize that first, and then get to more on the external side. And I've been very fortunate over this last week and a half to have a lot of people reach out, and whether it be willing to just give advice or help, or a lot of emails about interest in jobs, and haven't gotten to the outside yet, but work our way there.
Well, you have 10 players currently under contract for next season. How much different do you think this roster could look come winter?
Yeah, I think, to some extent, we're fortunate because, there's a lot of teams that, whether the salaries are certain with the salary cap, you're already locked in. So we do have flexibility. And I think that goes back kind of to the discussion that I've been starting to have with the coaching staff, and, truly asking the question, not just having a quick opinion and this is where we're going, but to truly ask the right questions and evaluate what our roster looks like currently, and ultimately what we believe are the ingredients we need to have success. So, I'm not sure yet in terms of exactly how it'll shake out, but all the teams are in this similar position where once you get a calendar and kind of know and understand where we're going from here, you start to put your roster together. But those are fun. Those are exciting conversations to have, and really looking forward to that detail and level of discussion.
Well, Kevin, right before we started recording this, I said you maybe have one of the nicer backgrounds that I've seen during quarantine. Can you give me, I like to do a brief office tour with people. Can you maybe show me around?
Oh yeah, well you're seeing some obviously very important trophies to me, I guess, that are there. Those were some special days in my career. A little bit of the touch from my wife on the artistic part of this. But you're really seeing the best part. I could walk around and I might run into a wall. It's not a very big office here, but I think my wife might yell at me if I took you on a tour. It's probably not as clean as she'd want it to be, because I've been living out of this place over the last week.
It's okay. Showing the trophies is good enough. Kevin, I really appreciate the time. All the best the rest of the summer and next season, and good health to you and your family.
Same to you. Appreciate you having me.